Hello Year 2, how are you? And welcome to today's English lesson. Now, can you remember when we looked at the bubble story, we looked at coordinating conjunctions and we used the coordinating conjunctions and, so, but, yet and nor to write sentences about the bubble story. But coordinating conjunctions are not the only type of conjunctions. We also have subordinating conjunctions that we're going to look at today. So by the end of the lesson, you'll know what a subordinating conjunction is used for, and you'll be able to give me some examples of subordinating conjunctions and when to use them, because they're all used for different reasons. And because of this knowledge, you'll be able to select an appropriate subordinating conjunction in some different sentences. And at the end of the lesson, you'll even be able to write your very own sentences using subordinating conjunctions to talk about Florence Nightingale's journey to Scutari and what she did when she was there. Now, before we do that, I'd like to see how much you can remember from last lesson. So last lesson, we looked at writing in the first person, which we're going to do in our letter from Florence Nightingale. So we've got, she went to the beach to see her friends. We decided to bake a cake in our new oven. I love strawberries, they are my favourite fruit. And they went to the park and rode their new bikes. So you need to decide if these sentences are in the first person or not. And if they're not, can you change them so that they are in the first person? Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, Year 2, so let's go through them together. First one, she went to the beach to see her friend. Now, am I talking about myself here? No, I'm not, am I? I'm talking about somebody else. I'm talking about another girl that I'm referring to using the personal pronoun she. She went to the beach to see her friends. So therefore, that is not written in the first person. But what can I do to make it into the first person? Well, I can change the pronoun she to I. I went to the beach to see her friends? No, I wouldn't say her friends, would I? I'd say my friends. There we go. So I've changed that to the first person. I went to the beach to see my friends. Okay, what about the second one? We decided to bake a cake in our new oven. Well, am I part of we? I am, aren't I? Because when we say we mean ourselves and some other people. So therefore, that is in the first person because I am part of that group. I am part of the group that decided to bake a cake in our new oven. So therefore, I can circle that one because it's in the first person. Okay, then we have, I love strawberries. They are my favourite fruit. Wow, who is it that loves strawberries? Yes, I love strawberries, so I'm talking about myself. So therefore, again, that is in the first person. Now let's check the last one. They went to the park and rode their new bikes. Now, in this one, am I part of the group that is being referred to as they? Well, no, I'm not, am I? I'm talking about another group that I'm not part of. So therefore, that is not in the first person. But how could I change it to the first person? Well, what pronoun can we use to make it so I am part of the group? Yes, we can use the pronoun we. We went to the park and rode their new bikes. No, not their new bikes. We can say our new bikes. They went to the park. We went to the park and rode our new bikes. Fantastic. Well done if you have remembered all of that from yesterday's lesson. I'm very impressed. Now let's move on to today's lesson. So as I said, we are going to be talking about conjunctions. But what is a conjunction? Do you remember? Pause the video and have a think. Okay, Year 2, so a conjunction links two or more words, phrases or clauses together. So when I say it links two or more words, we can say, I like strawberries and ice cream. And when we talk about phrases or clauses together, we're talking about joining two sentences together with a conjunction, like we did when we used our coordinating conjunctions. So there are two main types of conjunctions. As I said, we have the coordinating conjunctions, which we used in our bubble story, but we also have subordinating conjunctions, which we're looking at today. And these introduce a subordinate clause. So a subordinate clause is a fancy word for saying adding more information to the sentence. So you could say, I like ice cream because it's yummy. I will go to the park if I finish my work. So if I finish my work and because it is yummy are two subordinate clauses. Okay. Now you can remember some of the most useful subordinating conjunctions by, I wonder how we can remember them. Well, we can remember them by spotting one of the rarest monsters on the planet, a wobub, and shouting, I saw a wobub. Can everybody repeat after me? I saw a wobub. Fantastic. So I saw a wobub is a mnemonic to remember our subordinating conjunctions, just like fanboys is a mnemonic to remember our coordinating conjunctions. So let's have a look how we use some subordinating conjunctions. Well, here are all of our subordinating conjunctions. We have one subordinating conjunction to represent each letter of I saw a wobub. And when we looked at our diary entries for the Great Fire of London, we looked at if, we looked at when, and we looked at because. So we used 3 different subordinating conjunctions. Now, today we are going to be looking at 2 more subordinating conjunctions, which are after and before. So today we're going to be looking at 5 different subordinating conjunctions. So let's carry on with our lesson. Oh, how do we use subordinating conjunctions? I wonder. Well, a subordinating conjunction is the first word within a subordinate clause. So a subordinate clause is, for example, because it is yummy, or if I finish my work. Okay, so those are our subordinating clauses in our sentence. And look, we have because and if at the beginning of those subordinating clauses. So a subordinating conjunction will always come at the beginning of a subordinating clause. So I will finish my homework when I get home. So when I get home is our subordinate clause, and when is our conjunction, which is at the start of our subordinating clause. Okay, but subordinate clauses do not make sense on their own. So I couldn't say when I get home on its own, could I? Because when I get home, what? And I can't say if I finish my work on its own. If I finish my work, what? And I can't say because it is yummy on its own, because what is yummy? Okay, so they cannot make sense on their own. You have to use them as part of a whole sentence with the subordinate clause, with the subordinating conjunction at the start of that subordinate clause. So let's have a look at an example. We have after she smiled. So that's a subordinate clause. Now it always has a subject and a verb. Okay, so can you pause the video? Can you spot the subject pronoun and the verb? Okay, yeah, too. So let's have a look. Well, first of all, we have our subordinating conjunctions. One of the ones that we're looking at today, after. Then where is the subject pronoun, one of the personal pronouns that we looked at? Well, yes, it's she, isn't it? So after she, and then the verb is smiled. Now, would we be able to use that subordinate clause on its own? Would it make sense? After she smiled? Well, no, after she smiled, what? We can't use subordinate clauses on their own. They have to be joined to another clause, another part of the sentence. So, can you spot the subordinate clause and the subordinating conjunction in this sentence? Well, I remember that the subordinating conjunction comes at the beginning of my subordinate clause. So, where is the subordinating conjunction in this sentence? The eager pupils sped into school when the bell rang. Oh, one of my subordinating conjunctions. When? There we go. There's the subordinating conjunction, but where is the subordinate clause then? Well, the subordinating conjunction is always at the beginning of our subordinate clause. So here is our subordinate clause, when the bell rang. And look, we wouldn't be able to have that on its own when the bell rang, because what when the bell rang? So therefore, we know that it is a subordinate clause because it doesn't make sense on its own. It has to have the eager pupils sped into school as well. Okay, so our subordinating conjunction is when. Okay, what about this one? Whales give birth to live young because they are mammals. Could you pause the video and have a think? Where is the subordinate clause and what is the subordinating conjunction? Okay, year two, let's go through it together. So remember, my subordinate clause starts with a subordinating conjunction. Now, where is my subordinating conjunction in this sentence? I saw a wobob. The B stands for because, doesn't it? So there is my subordinating conjunction. And I know that a subordinating conjunction comes at the beginning of a subordinate clause. So therefore, my subordinate clause is because they are mammals, and my subordinating conjunction is because. And I know that because they are mammals is a subordinate clause because I can't say that on its own, can I? I can't say because they are mammals. Well, what? Because they are mammals. That doesn't make sense on its own. Okay, now in the sentences we have looked at so far, the subordinate clause has always come after the main clause. So we've always had the eager pupils sped into school, and then the subordinate clause has come after. I wonder what we can do though. Does it always have to come after? We've looked at this in class a little bit. Do you remember? Well, no, it doesn't. We can also have the subordinate clause at the start of our sentence. So when the bell rang, the eager pupils sped into school. So watch again. We had the eager pupils sped into school when the bell rang. So our subordinate clause is at the end of our sentence there. But, we can change it round and have when the bell rang, the eager pupils sped into school. So now it's at the start of our sentence. Our subordinate clause has been switched to the beginning. Okay, can you swap these sentences around? Well, could you pause the video and have a think? What would the sentence, the hopeless rugby team lost the game because they hadn't trained, be if you put the subordinate clause at the beginning? Okay, year two, let's have a look. What does it become if we put it at the beginning? Well, it becomes because they hadn't trained, the hopeless rugby team lost the game. So look, our subordinate clause is at the beginning because I start with my subordinating conjunction because, and then I have my subordinate clause, and then I have the main clause that gives me the main information. Because they hadn't trained, the hopeless rugby team lost the game. Okay. Now, we've got a paragraph here. When Cleo saw the crocodile in the cave entrance, he stopped in his tracks. The beast was hurriedly eating the remains of its last unlucky victim because it was ravenous, which means it's very, very hungry. Cleo took a deep breath before he tiptoed away. Cleo thought to himself, what might have happened if he hadn't seen the crocodile? So let's have a look at the first sentence together. Can we find a subordinating conjunction? When Cleo saw the crocodile in the cave entrance, he stopped in his tracks. Where is the subordinating conjunction in that sentence? Which subordinating conjunctions have I learned? I've learned if, when, because, after, and before. Look, this sentence starts with when. When Cleo saw the crocodile in the cave entrance. So there's my subordinate clause because look, it starts with my subordinating conjunction when. When Cleo saw the crocodile in the cave entrance. So there we go. We have the subordinating conjunction when there. So now could you pause the video and see if you can find all of the other subordinating conjunctions in this paragraph? Okay, year two, so let's have a look at the next sentence. The beast was hurriedly eating the remains of its last unlucky victim because it was ravenous. Now, where is our subordinating conjunction in that sentence? Well, remember, we've learned if, when, because, after, and before. Because it was ravenous. So this time, our subordinate clause is at the end of our sentence. So therefore, we have the subordinating conjunction at the start, which is because. But if we wanted to change this sentence around and put the subordinate clause at the start, we could say, because it was ravenous, the beast was hurriedly eating the remains of its last unlucky victim. Can you see how I've changed it so that the subordinate clause is at the beginning of the sentence rather than at the end like it